Hi, I'm Janie Wise. Welcome to my channel, Enjoying My 70s. And to enjoy my 70s, I'm still learning. I'm a professional violinist, and I switched a few years ago from my focus being on classical music, on symphonies and string quartets, piano trios, to jazz. I was fascinated by what was going on, and I knew I didn't understand a bit of it. Fortunately, I had some friends who were very good jazzers, and they took me under their wing and started teaching me. It was like learning my instrument from scratch, only in a different way. I put myself through a lot of anguish, which I'm sure a lot of people do. I think, well, you have a master's degree in violin. I should be able to do this. But give yourself credit. You have a lot going for you, but you have to start at the bottom. So I would ask people, what do I do? You know, the first thing they all say is listen. Okay, so I went home, I put on music, and I started listening. And I thought, well, what should I be listening for? I didn't know. And I'm thinking, I can't even tell what's happening. So this video is part one of not telling you how, I'm not going into music theory or anything of the mechanics, but this is just the generalities of filling in the blanks. So the first thing is when someone tells you, just listen. There's a lot more to listening than just listen. But it's not that difficult if you break it down. First of all, there are two ways of listening. One is kind of a generalized listening. You have your music going while you're in the car, you're singing along, cleaning house, whatever you're doing is background music. You are absorbing stuff doing that. It's not a waste of time. You are learning the different performers, what instruments they play, what they do a little bit, but that only goes so far. The next way is the serious listening, and I would say serious listening is as much practicing, if not more, than when you have your instrument in your hand. Think of that. Everything starts here, not here in your fingers or your embouchure or whatever. It starts here. You've got to have the mechanics here. Know what you want. You've got to have a vision of the end product. Well, you learn that from people who have already arrived at the end and are using their talents. I would call this directed listening. It's as good as any practice time you put in, and we want to break it down to the elements. But before I get into that, I am assuming that you're approaching this from the standpoint of you already know your instrument, you're comfortable with form in music, and you can follow the changes in a song. If you need help with that, just do a search on the internet. There are so many people that are better at explaining that are doing it every day, and they're much better at it than I. So right now, I'm talking about the things that these fantastic people that were helping me were so comfortable with it that when I asked questions, they would leave out some of the details that I needed, and I needed it broken down to the basics. So directed listening would take in the basic beat, keeping your place. Floating on top of the beat would be the rhythm. Then you've got melody, and then we have phrasing and style. These things you can get started with without even having your instrument in your hand. So choose a tune that you want to work on, or several, and they're very standard. And first of all, listen for the basic beat. Can you count and identify 4-measure and 8-measure phrases? Not losing your place, and you're very comfortable with it. Then you can go on. Rhythmic. I would find just a snippet, a motif of rhythm in there that you can latch onto and write it down. This is transcribing, but you don't need to start at the beginning and transcribe the whole song. Find something that's a measure or two and write down that rhythm. Then go back and scat that rhythm through that song until you're comfortable and you feel it. It's 2 measures probably, and you're doing this over and over again. After that, you may want to pick up, at this point, you may want to pick up your fiddle and play just that rhythm on roots as you go through, and you may have to make some changes to fit it. Next, we have melody. Again, don't transcribe from the beginning to the end, but find, a measure or two that you like, that you can relate to, write it down, learn it, get it memorized, put it in different keys, do everything you can with it. And then go back, play it where, with the chords, and you'll have to change it to match the chords wherever you can. Whether your little melodic does not fit, then just play the rhythm. But make it fit. Feel those phrases and start collecting these motifs. Lots and lots of rhythmic motifs, lots and lots of melodic motifs that you can put into different situations. Next is phrasing and style. Phrasing that can be tricky. We all at the beginning, I know if I was not playing straight, constant eighth notes, I got lost. As soon as I would put in spaces, I would get lost. And I wish somebody had told me early on, learn to play the spaces, not the notes. And by that mean, go through your song and just play the roots, but only play 1 or 2 beats in each measure, and make it change. Make some of them off the beat, some of them on the beat, but put these great big spaces in there until you are totally comfortable with these huge spaces. Then go in and fill in some notes in there. It will make you very solid with your form and where you are. Then you can start putting in some neighbor notes and pickup notes, just some scales in between what you're doing. Build like that. And of course, with that, you're going to listen to the players and see how many notes are they playing in a row. Where do they put their spaces? How long are their spaces? Really analyze that, and you'll find that you begin to love those spaces. That's what gives the whole thing shape. If it's just a sea of notes, then you're going to lose your listener pretty quickly. The next is style. You've got to know, is it Latin? Is it swung? Is it gypsy jazz? Is it just straight beats? What's going on? And get comfortable with identifying that and blending in. One way to get the style is to go back to those eighth notes or whatever the main note is and just play roots on that one note until you're fitting in with the swing or the Latin style or the gypsy jazz, whatever, and you're getting comfortable with it. I use a lot of times I'm playing along with a YouTube video. I figure out what key it's in, and then I'll pick one thing and do it with it until I know it. So that's what you can get just from listening before you ever really seriously start getting into improv. Get those basics down and use your listening that way. So it's more listening than playing, but there's some playing in there. So do that. And then we'll get on to actually building a solo. If you find this video helpful, please like it and subscribe to my channel. Also comment. I'd like to hear what your journey from classical to jazz has been. If you have other suggestions, please leave them in the comments to help other people. Thanks. I hope you found this video helpful in learning how to use listening to build a foundation in your journey from classical to jazz. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe, and you'll see the next step in this journey, which will be how to start building a solo on the tunes that you like. Thank you, and I hope to see you again.